Have you ever wanted to dive deeper into the horror movies you love? Beyond the Blood is a horror podcast for fans who want more than just surface level screams. We do deep dives into the movies that shaped us, digging into director commentaries, behind the scenes stories, deleted scenes, and the special features that most people skip. Each episode is a love letter to the genre. We break down how these films were made, the creative risks that paid off or didn't, and the lasting impact they've had on the genre as a whole. From 70s slashers to modern nightmares, we celebrate the craft, chaos, and characters that keep us coming back. If you're the kind of fan who rewatches movies with the commentary on, or you simply grew up in the video store horror aisle, the Beyond the Blood podcast was made for you. New episodes every single week. Subscribe, and let's dig deep. Welcome to the Beyond the Blood podcast.
I'm Chris Stashew.
And we are the hosts of the One Season Show podcast, the podcast that talks about television shows that only lasted one season.
Yeah, on every episode of the show, we talk about several episodes of a TV show that only lasted one season. Like just mentioned, we are currently right at the kind of home stretch of Kitchen Confidential, the 2006 Fox TV show that lasted a whopping 3 episodes before it was summarily canceled thanks to baseball. And as the world turns, baseball is now canceled, so I guess, as they say, karma comes around. I don't know.
Have they officially canceled baseball yet?
Well, they've suspended baseball. They canceled Kitchen Confidential. So, and those of you listening to this in the future will look back on us and be like, wow, I remember that. Well, I'd like to forget. However, on this episode, we're going to be talking about episodes 8, 9, and 10 of Kitchen Confidential. Teddy Takes Off, Let's Do Brunch, and Praise Be Praise.
I've been moving since 9 o'clock, but life is on the cutting block. I face things, time to move. I've got to get my life into. Hey, yeah, look at my days, yeah, these are my ways, yeah, ain't it insane?
So Teddy Takes Off is directed by Michael Spiller, written by Dan Sterling. The guest star of note is my friend, I guess. I'm technically on a first-name basis with him. I don't know how much of friends we are, but I've mentioned him before. Matt Winston, the son of special effects icon Stan Winston. And the entire episode focuses on Jack taking credit for Teddy's dish. Teddy goes AWOL, and Jack has to figure out a way to fill the space left by Teddy's quitting. What did you think of this episode, Jess? Because I've seen this so many times, like, I know what my opinion is, but I'm curious for you what your opinion is.
I thought this episode was just kind of a filler, but fun. I enjoyed seeing John Cho featured more prominently in an episode, because he doesn't, in the episodes leading up to this, he hasn't really been front and center, and this one is, it's entirely about his character and how he's treated and taken for granted by Jack, who's taking credit for his dishes because, well, he's the chef, and that's, I guess, what he feels he needs to do.
And let's not kid ourselves, like, this is the first time we've seen a character in the show given essentially an entire episode to themselves.
Essentially, yeah. I guess it's not entirely to themselves because they're still at odds with Jack, like that's always what it's going to be in each episode. But this is the first one that we've seen one of the main kitchen staff get some more room to breathe and room to be an actual character. I mean, because I get it. Like, you get that feeling from Teddy where he's like, no, you can't fucking take credit for my dish and then get all the glory and then, like, come over and try and high-five me like you don't know what the fuck you did. Like... So, no, I thought this episode was fun. I thought that it was funny. I think that it is one of the funnier episodes that we've seen up to this point. And otherwise, though, it doesn't really, like, further any kind of plot or anything about the story at large or the characters at large. But it was nice to see more of a different character.
It is definitely the first episode where something big happens, and at the end of the episode, we're right back where we started, showing that this is ultimately a sitcom.
Yeah. These next, there's a couple episodes in this next few that are very much like, yep, this was a huge happening, and it has absolutely zero consequence going forward. And done. But
I tell you what, it allowed me to quote now, and you'll get it anytime I quote it if you ever yell at me, I am not the fish! Because, this episode for me, I know your opinion is, this is just kind of another episode. I don't know why, but I like this episode a lot. But also, for me personally, it kind of hits some buttons that some of the other episodes don't, because I was for a while the kind of person who felt like I needed to get credit for everything that I did. And, that's something that is kind of explored in this episode, and as much as this show explores any themes, really. But I kind of have struggled with that, and me, I've kind of, since we've met, it's not really been an issue. But before then, I kind of had a hard time letting go of things. But
oh no, I'm right there with you, and I'm still have a hard time. I get that, and I do. It's that hard work that
we've had those conversations.
Acknowledged, yeah. It's acknowledgement for the work that you did, the hard work that you did, all the bullshit that you put up with to get there, and then having somebody just take it right out of your hand. And see, that's ultimately where I think where I wish this show would have tried harder, in that it doesn't know how to be both a sitcom and push these sort of interesting personal struggles and stories. Okay, so we knew that Jack was an addict and an alcoholic in the first episode, and now and him getting sober was totally easy and fine, and he's had no real issues. And I don't know,
it's dropped.
It's dropped, and a lot of stuff is dropped, and I don't think that the tone is consistently sitcom-y and goofy enough, and that like we've talked before about certain episodes that have no consequence, like the one with his mentor who ostensibly eats himself to death. That's a weird tone that's not maintained throughout this whole show. And I think it hurts the show ultimately, because on one hand, you want to have this just kind of fun, carefree sitcom feeling, but on the other hand, they are trying to explore some character flaws and, some real problems that exist within the industry of restaurant, of chefdom and that whole power struggle and the toxic kitchen atmosphere and everything. And it just, it falls short, and it leaves me wanting. It's not, I don't know, I guess it's not consistently funny enough and goofy enough to be a successful sitcom for me, and it doesn't care about or take its characters seriously enough to actually follow through with any of the themes that it tries to introduce.
Well, and the other thing is the way I look at it, the way I look at a lot of things, and we've talked about this on the Culture Cast, either do it all the way or don't do it at all, but don't give me the in-between where I'm yearning for something that you've given me a taste of, but not enough to really give me an idea of how you could have done it.
Yeah, especially when it's something that is, I think, for me, would make the show better. Don't tease me with something that could have made the show better, but make me watch this result instead, And sure, maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just I'm asking too much of this show. I get it. That is a possibility.
The show set itself up that way, unfortunately. And
it did.
I didn't have the heart to tell you that wasn't going to be the case. I was going to let you come to that conclusion on your own. Because, what would me telling you in the first couple episodes that they don't confront Jack's alcoholism really, done for your perception of the show?
Quite honestly, I kind of, a few, probably 3 or 4 episodes into this, I knew kind of where we were at, where all of this, anything that any hint of exploring anything with real depth, I knew was just immediately going to be forgotten or played off as a joke. There is a lot of that in this show that I don't think, it's very much a product of its time of 2007?
2006.
Yeah, 2006. It's very much a product of its 2006 time.
Yeah. I mean, this show would be way different if it was written now, right?
Yeah, some stuff is not aged well, which we've talked about previously, and, namely how they treat female characters, but other things as well. Like, the first fucking, the first line of this episode is, I'm as heterosexual as any guy, don't get me wrong. And it's like, okay.
I ain't no homo. Oh, God.
Right,
God.
Exactly. Like, it's just,
God.
Okay.
It's not great.
And I guess we can, in regards to how they treat their female characters, we can move on to let's do brunch.
We're done talking about this, okay?
Well, at least for me. I
get it. Like, look, ultimately, there's not much to mine from this episode. There's some funny kind of bits. The bit about kind of how Teddy goes and buys a fish, buys a bottle of booze, goes and screams at a fish in a pan and drinks alcohol and then comes back in.
The whole explaining, montage of how Jack and Teddy's relationship has worked in the past, where they get pissed off at each other and it's an ego fight, and this is how the process, and at the end of it, they're bros again. And that was funny. That's what I liked. I liked seeing John Cho because he, I think, is a legitimately funny actor. Yep. He's a good actor, and I think he's heavily, sadly underused in this show.
Some episodes he's not even in them.
It's amazing. I mean, this is the 8th episode. This episode didn't even air. This is the 8th episode. In the first episode, he's actually getting more than a few minutes of screen time. And that's kind of, John Cho was... People knew who he was in 2006. I mean, I guess he wasn't like a huge star, but I don't know. I think that it's weird. And I mean, sure, Bradley Cooper was the draw of the show. I get that. He's your leading man. He's handsome. It was right on the verge of Bradley Cooper becoming Bradley Cooper. But yeah, no, you have talent in this show that you could be using, and you don't for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. It's a little bit of a bummer at the same time,
Right, and I mean that's just kind of it's how these shows roll.
Yeah, again, there's a lot of stuff in these shows that, like, ultimately at the end of the day, I look at it and I just go, different time, different place, hasn't aged well. There you go. I mean, there's nothing else to say, really, right?
Right.
Yeah. But speaking of, like you said, poor treatment of female characters, let's talk about the next episode. Let's do brunch. It's directed by Victor Nelly Jr., written by Richard Apple. The only guest star of note is Rob Bolton, who plays Albert the Candyman. That's his character's actual name. And so essentially, Becky uses sex to get Jack to use brunch as a, unbeknownst to him, tryout for her to head one of Pino's new restaurants.
Right. Essentially, this is like the first time we've seen Becky.
Again, I think further proving that these episodes are out of order.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, that's fair.
She's literally not in the last episode at all.
No, she's not. Like, we haven't seen her, and then she's back in it. They're still sleeping together like they're a somewhat couple, but not couple. Like, but she's making him breakfast in bed, and okay, fine. But she's also using him at this point. And yeah, she's the only character that's a woman that we were introduced that was sort of, had stake and more like, was somewhat more equal to the men in the show as far as, being a dominant character. But her whole personality now is that she uses sex as a weapon, as a manipulative tool. That, yeah, she's sleeping with Jack to get Pino to agree to brunch, and then to kind of maintain the kitchen because the boys, do what Jack says. And yeah, that's the whole episode. The whole episode is her just manipulating him to do brunch, and then brunch is awful. Obviously, every restaurant hates brunch because it's all the reasons they list in the episode. There's kids and old people wall to wall. There's just it's unlimited certain things, and it's just a nightmare.
Which is, by the way, from the book completely.
Oh yeah, and I mean, like, I've worked brunch at restaurants before, and yeah, it's a nightmare. But yeah, no, it's really a pity that she is that Becky's character is essentially done this way in this episode and in later episode. I mean, it's just it I don't know. Oh, but I would totally also punch like the Albert chocolates in the face. That guy's fucking irritating.
It melts in your mouth like a secret wish. I mean, he's a prick, and he ends up hitting Nicholas Brendan's character with his car. He's he's obviously clearly like just an antagonistic dickhead. So you feel no sympathy for him when he kind of gets what's coming to him. But yeah, I think my favorite part of this episode is kind of when you get to see.
Hello and welcome to Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys. My name is Hunter. In this podcast, I'll be joined by a different guest each week to discuss a classic Western movie or TV show. I've been a fan of classic Westerns for as long as I can remember, and in recent years, they've become very nostalgic for me. I love the aesthetic, the tropes, and I love seeing different filmmakers' takes on them. At their best, they're incredibly entertaining, rewatchable, and some of my all-time favorite movies are Westerns. We'll mostly focus on Western movies made in Hollywood, but we'll also be covering spaghetti Westerns, and one thing I'm very excited to get into are Western TV shows. I've got some amazing guests coming on the show, film professors, historians, and podcasters. And Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys is part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, and many guests on the show will be from other shows on the network. Thanks for listening.
How the staff handles brunch, but everything else in this episode is just not great. It's okay.
Again, it's more like, here's a few minutes of fun kitchen antics and some one-liners, and now here's the cringy, uncomfortable stuff. And that doesn't make an episode. That's just like, there's nothing happening other than some silly kitchen antics, which is fine for like a skit, but yeah, once it's, and I think that, as this show goes on and as we get towards the end, to the end of it, we'll see how if it really ever kind of evolves much past just being some funny kitchen antics and some one-liners and then a whole bunch of, questionable material around that.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is not the first, last, or future time that a female character is going to utilize sex as a manipulative tool. That is kind of an age-old storytelling device. Mm-hmm. It's unfortunate that it's here in this show. I think ultimately at the end of the day, this episode is kind of so forgettable that it just kind of feels right in line with the other ways they've treated the Becky character, going from like a strong female character to one who uses sex to get what she wants. And I guess you could make the case that that's a strong female character, but it wouldn't fly with me.
No.
Yeah. I mean, there would be people who would make that case. I'm not saying I agree.
She should be able to get the restaurant on her own. Like, that's her whole thing. She wants to be the chef that has her own restaurant like Jack does. And so her being, I get it. There's a power, later on, and there is an episode called Power Play, but there is power structures and dynamics, and you have to be willing to play hardball in certain aspects, sure. And you're going to do things maybe that, aren't great. But she's not winning anything based on her talents as a chef. She's going straight for, I'm just going to sleep with him and get what I want. And that's, not her fault as a person. That's their fault as writers of character.
Right, exactly. Agreed 100%.
Where there could have been an actual power, there could have actually been room for good story where we have to see Jack drop his sort of, because that's kind of my other issue that I have, is that Jack has not changed. Aside from the fact that he's not an alcoholic addict anymore, he's still a douche. And anything that he does nicely is to get ahead in his life. And anything that he does, badly doesn't have consequence, because then we apply sitcom rules. And it's just, this could have been an opportunity for them to be, to say something where Jack has to make a decision or has to actually, talk up Becky or at least back up Becky or allow her to actually make some changes in the kitchen while, under his guidance and actually do stuff. But no, it's just, okay, I'm going to sleep with him and then we're going to concoct this goofy plan and then I'm going to get my restaurant by. And Jack's not going to learn a goddamn thing.
Well, and he's not going to learn anything through the end of the show. I hate to break it to you, obviously.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, and that's kind of where, again, like I said, the first few episodes into this, that's I could kind of see the show going in that direction. And, I know that this show, I definitely see the appeal of this show, and I can see why, I can see why you really like it. I can see why others would really like it. for me, I either need, if it's going to be a sitcom, I need it to be funnier and consistently funny. Or if it's going to be a dramedy, then I need better written drama. But that's just...
I'm not sure the
maybe
show
it's just
ever...
me asking for too much out of this type of show. But also you're basing a show on somebody who is very interesting, their actual life. Like, just go full on to that. Like you said, if we're going to commit to something, commit to something.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. Look, I think the issue is, they should never have gone in a route that would allow them to convey that this might be a dramedy.
Right. Yeah, like you should either just make it every episode is a one-off, nothing matters to the next thing, and everything is based on a gag, like your central plot line is based on a gag. Because certain episodes are that, or at least they try to be, but then they're throwing in a few other, too many things, or they're trying to throw in some kind of like moral or lesson or whatever when you get some heartfelt VO from Jack Bourdain at the end. Like, you're either commit to your sitcom rules of hilarity or commit to a through story of dramedy.
I'm right there with you. I think, as much as I do like this show, there's parts of this show that I wish they could have just done away with and focused more on comedy and not worried about, like, trying to maybe have the characters grow.
Right. Because if you're not going to fully commit to it, then it seems really disingenuous.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly agreed. 100%. No questions there.
And speaking of disingenuous...
Oh, Lord. So let's talk about the final episode we're talking about on this episode of the one-season show. Praise Be Praise. It's directed by Peter Lauer, written by Richard Apple once again. The only star of note is Mitchard. Jesus. It's Mitch Silpa. Mitch Silpa, who plays one of the busboys, who Nicholas Brendan's character is trying to convince him to say that he would have sex with him.
Right, because yeah.
So this episode focuses on a food critic who rates chefs by their proficiency in the bedroom.
Which would never happen in real life in a million years.
Sure. I guess. I mean, I honestly don't know what's precluding someone from doing it.
I think that I don't know. I feel like that there's slander and libel involved in that.
Sure.
Like when you're talking about, because you would be
sitcom rules.
Exactly, because if that existed in real life, you could use that as a weapon and really to discredit and to hurt people. There's just no way that could function. Plus, I mean, so this character's a woman, and so she's doing it to male chefs because she's a straight woman for all we know anyway. So she's only doing this to male chefs as well, so there would be some kind of just unfairness there as well. But yes, sitcom rules. This is ultimately the biggest of no consequence episode, one of the bigger ones that we have. Because, yes, she ends up sleeping with Jack, and as you would think, of course, she doesn't give him the perfect 30 out of 30. She gives him the 22 out of 30, which
But then he gets a 30-30 at the end, because
he updates it.
Because he's a piece of shit.
Yeah, because he updates it on her computer, and then we never hear about it again, and it never matters. But, yeah, this whole episode is about him basically getting all butthurt about her not giving him a perfect score and ostensibly calling him a send back in the restaurant world, lingo. And he's just trying to prove it, and the whole episode is this is the only episode in where Jack Bourdain is not the ultimate stud for the whole thing. It's he gets turned down a few times because we're supposed to believe that this 22 out of 30 rating would do that to his reputation. And then in the kitchen, like you said, there's a Nicholas Brendan character and all of the guys who they ask a hypothetical question of if you had
Essentially
to
fuck, marry, kill, right?
If you had to, gun to your head, of course, because you wouldn't be able to answer this question if you weren't, about to be murdered. But
I would never put a dick in my mouth unless I had a gun to my head. You don't know
right,
that?
like, who would you sleep with who is also a man? Like, it's basically the whole gag is like, ha ha ha, you're gay, and there is a lot of that in this. There is. There's a lot of this.
I was just like
show.
that. Ha ha ha, you're gay. Yeah.
Yep, the
wrong.
early 2000s, ha ha ha, you're gay. Yeah, that's absolutely what's happening here.
I mean, just remember one of the comedies that's heralded as a kind of like a legend in the mid 2000s was a 40-year-old version. So
Yeah, exactly.
and that movie has like a whole thing. What is it? You know how I know you're gay because you like Coldplay.
Yeah, you know how I know you're gay? Yeah, there's just that whole back and forth for a good, 10 minutes.
And people wonder why more men who are gay don't come out, or women who are gay don't come out, because...
Right, I can't imagine why, because as recently as early 2000s, mid-2000s was that
I mean,
acceptable.
they're still doing it.
Oh, God, yeah.
This show is not committing sins that aren't being committed now.
No,
Let's not
it's
kid
just,
ourselves.
No, it's just you can see that it's in the TV. On something that's on network TV like that, it's not that kind of gay, making fun of gay people joke or making gay people the joke, the
Well, I don't know if it's
punchline.
making fun of. I think what it's doing is showing that, it's minimalizing someone's sexual preference and lifestyle choice as something you would personally only do if you had no other choice.
Right.
And that's even more fucked up.
This whole thing, all these, and that's what I'm saying, that's what I'm saying if this show were a better show and wanted to commit to the actual dramedy and actually talk about the toxic, relationships and, the fight for masculinity that happens in kitchens and other types of work. But then fine, explore that. But no, you're just adding on to it. You're just perpetuating that problem that exists.
Yeah, I completely agree. And then Nicholas Brendan's character has the only quote-unquote gay character on the show say, I would sleep with you. And then he's like, look, an actual homosexual would sleep with me. Like, great, that's...
Right, and the punchline is that he says this out loud when the hot girl, Tanya, that he likes, comes into the kitchen. Ha, ha, ha.
Hilarious. Cool. It's not funny.
No, it's not. And it's unfortunate because Nicholas Brendan is funny. He delivers lines well. He can be a funny guy, but he is throughout this show is often the perpetuator of the kind of homophobic activity. Him and Steven. But they both are on that end, which is unfortunate because both of those actors I like. They both have good screen presence. They like I said, they deliver their lines well. They are funny. They've got good timing. They just happen to be the two bros, stereotypical bros that are constantly making gay jokes at each other.
Yeah, it gets a little old. They're a little one note.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think ultimately at the end of the day, these 3 episodes. They're all kind of one note.
Yeah,
they're all kind of sitcom-y.
Yeah,
they're all very
really
sitcom-y, I guess. They fall into the sitcom trap, as it were. So, what are we going to be talking about on the next episode of the One Season Show?
Well, on the next episode, we're finishing Kitchen Confidential. We are going to finish the last 3 episodes, 11, 12, and 13, and that will put a cap on our second season.
Yep, we're nearing the end of the second season. We're going to finish out Kitchen Confidential strong. We have an interview with Frank Alvarez, who plays Ramon the dishwasher. We're going to have that interview on the final episode of the season. So it's going to be a good episode. It's going to be a good way to end the season. Until then, where can people find you, Jess?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at writer Jess Byard, and you can also find me twice a month on the Culture Cast, which is the little podcast you do.
It's
you
true.
can find me here, and that's currently you can actually just find me in quarantine.
With the rest of us, hopefully.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter a lot more right now.
I think you can find a lot of us on the internet a lot more than we thought we would be in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Myself, yourself included. As for myself, you can find me on Twitter at casualty_Chris. You can find me on the Dreams for Sale podcast, Chronicles from the Crypt, and like Jess mentioned, the Culture Cast, as well as the Barney Miller podcast. Those are the places you can find me. Go and give those a listen. If everybody's got as much free time as I'm assuming they still do, great. If not, well, hello from the past. Hopefully things are back to normal. If not, hey, you know what? Give those podcasts a listen. Our music is City Lights, City Dreams by Forever Sunset. Give them a listen if you're into the kind of music that we have on the podcast. Stay safe out there and check out the next episode.